Welcome to the Monopoly Mindset, the podcast where we uncover the strategies to build your real estate portfolio one property at a time.
We're your hosts, Tyler and Tommy, here to share our story of playing real-life Monopoly.
Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned investor, this is your go-to resource for mastering the real estate game.
So grab your board, roll the dice, and let's buy Boardwalk together.
Welcome back to Monopoly Mindset, episode 36. We're going to go back through pass and go. It's been a couple of weeks. Ty and I got some updates to our portfolio that we're excited to discuss. Apologize, kind of missed a week in between there. Ty was on vacation. We just were juggling a couple of things, but hey, not too bad missing 1 week or 2 weeks out of the year so far. So very proud of ourselves.
Yeah, and we also have had some technical copyright issues with our last episode, so we need to change up our music in the intro, and that episode got taken down. So sorry, Dom, but we'll get it back out there.
Yeah, at least only Spotify took it down, so it was still on YouTube, which was a little bit odd, but we're still figuring out some of the technical difficulties, so we'll get that back out soon.
Yeah, so just some current events real quick. The federal interest rate decision was yesterday, so they did drop another 0.25%. Again, Dom mentioned this, but interest rates don't directly affect that, but a 0.25% drop in the Fed rate is definitely going in the right direction in terms of mortgage rates. So pretty excited about that. Me and you were just talking for a while about getting out of our seller financing deal, and then I have 2 other properties that I want to refinance as well, but I'm still kind of going to wait another probably a year or so until hopefully we get some more rate drops, but who knows?
Yeah, I'm probably going to pull the trigger on refinancing sooner rather than later, just to tap into some of the equity that's been sitting there as these rates keep dropping. And the more I see, the more it feels like they're just going to steadily drop over the next year to 2 years. And so I don't think pulling out or refinancing like 6.5% is going to be a terribly different. Like, I'd rather get that money now than wait a year to maybe get 6 or potentially a year and a half. So I'm looking at pulling the trigger sooner. And then even like something I wasn't 100% thinking about, like as rates did drop, TDJ. I mean, we have roughly $1 million in debt, and it's at almost a 7.8% interest rate. So refinancing most of that down to 6.5% would save us almost like $1,500 to $2,000 a month just from refinancing to a lower debt ratio. So I think that something we discussed here and there, but we might look at refinancing that just from a cost savings perspective, because we do have some higher interest debt that's costing us.
Yeah, and for reference, you just told me that you got quotes from Dom actually for 75% loan to value, 30-year DSCR loan. He said he was around 6.5%, and if you did 70% loan to value, 30-year DSCR, he was at like 6.1. So obviously everybody's situation is different. I'm not saying everybody can go to Dom and get a 6.1, but that's what you were quoted. So, I mean, I have an 8.8% rate on a property, so anything below like 7 would be great.
We do too. We have like an honestly, I think it's like a 9.1% rate. It was supposed to be like an 8.9, and then something happened at closing. It went up, 0.2 percentage points. And so we're paying an arm and a leg in interest for that property. So to refinance that, I think that property alone is going to save us like $850.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like the thing when buying. Obviously, you want a lower rate, but for some reason in my mind, I look at like upside in a few years, like what's this property going to do in a few years? And like when you buy a house at a 3% rate, obviously I'd rather buy it at a 3% rate for all my houses. But in like 2 years, I'm like, it's not going to get any better, right? It's going to be 3% for 30 years. Whereas like this house with 8%, I'm like, it's going to be so much better in 2 years or 3 years when I refinance. Like there's so much upside there. But yeah, I mean, again, obviously you'd rather have the better rate today. But that was in like 2023. And if you go look at like the 30-year mortgage curve, I'm pretty sure I refinanced at like the peak of the last 5 years. Obviously, nobody knew, and I had to refinance. But uh, yeah, it is what it is.
I think that we refinanced right around the same time because TDJ again was having that problem of like we bought these properties, they should be worth a lot more money. We fixed them up and we were trying to do, cash out refinances, complete the BRRRR process, and we just weren't able to pull the cash out because we weren't getting the appraisals that we needed. And we finally found a couple different lenders, got better appraisals, and then pulled out the money. But to your point, it was like the peak. And so we got that same like 9% interest rate on some of these properties. And it's like, all right, well, that's good that we were able to get the money out, but also we're paying an arm and a leg for this debt. So with interest rates dropping, I feel like it's a good time for us to attack and refinance our portfolio, get it to a better rate, and kind of keep moving on from there. So something that's on our to-do list and agenda for sure.
Yeah, so with that, we'll jump into pass and go again. I have some exciting news, some not so exciting news. I've been busy over the last couple weeks, but I did get my old house rented out. So yeah, got a lease signed. It actually was gonna be for November 1st, but I guess let me back up. So I had it listed for 2,700 for about 2 weeks, and I wasn't getting a ton of traction. And I wanted to drop it, but it was kind of tough because I always had like one person who seemed interested, at a time. And so like I was like, oh, I want to drop it, but then like that person obviously would be like, oh, well, you dropped it. So, but then that person would fall through, or just like they'd act really interested and then not apply. We talked a lot about that lady with a voucher that was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely going home to apply, and then like never heard from her again. But I got somebody in there, and I had already made up my mind that I was going to drop it. I don't know, a little bit. And when I was showing it to them, I was like, hey, and kind of incentivize them to like actually want it. I was like, I am going to drop the price $100, and they were like, well, then should we wait? And I was like, no, like if you apply, I'll take $100 off the rent. So I ended up renting it out 12 months for 2,600 instead of 2,700, which again, $100. My cash flow is still really good on that property, so super happy with that. And then he wanted it for November 1st, and we signed the lease like middle of October. And I kind of went into it like some people advertise like first half of the month is free or whatever. I kind of went into it like, okay, the property's going to be sitting vacant from now till November 1st. He doesn't want to sign a lease before then, and I'm not really finding anybody else. So I kind of might as well let him use the property before. Like, even though he's not paying, it's kind of just like, what else is, it's just going to sit there vacant, and he won't sign for like October 15th. So he was like, hey, do you mind if I start like moving stuff in? And I was like, honestly, do you just want to make the lease start like tomorrow? You don't have to pay me any extra. So that's what we ended up doing, but got first month's rent, security deposit, which was cool. And then he'll start paying in December. So glad that all worked out.
I think it was smart just to let him in a little bit earlier. And plus, like it's getting colder. Make sure somebody's living in the house, keeping the heat on. Don't have to worry about pipes or anything freezing. So I think it was a good idea. Kind of builds a better relationship between the two of you. Hopefully, he like looks at it. Hey, Ty helped me out a little bit. Maybe he'll take better care of the property here in a year.
Well, and I guess I saved a little bit of money because I did switch I said you can move in early, but I'm switching the utilities, and we actually changed the lease date. I didn't just say like the lease starts November 1st. You can just come here because that's just like a liability. We actually made the lease date earlier, and so all the utilities I was able to cancel electric and Wi-Fi and all that. So I mean, I maybe saved a couple $100, but yeah, I mean, again, what else am I going to do? The property's going to be vacant until then anyway, so.
Yeah, you had it already. So, no, I think that was the right call. And glad that you were able to get somebody to rent it. It seems like a quality tenant. Not sure rent's not due yet because this is, technically his lease wasn't supposed to start until tomorrow. So, guessing you got first month rent security deposit, but we won't know until December 1st how rent's going to be.
Yeah. But actually, though, one thing that I did, which I honestly haven't heard in a bunch of podcasts, but a strategy that I ended up using was he kind of had a unique story where I don't want to go too much and give away too much information, but he lived out of the country, and so when he filled out his application, everything came out great. Credit score was great, like never missed a payment, background check great, but he just started his job, and like his job, it qualified for it met the income minimum, like he made 3 or 4 times or whatever the 3 to 4 times rent, but it's like a travel contract with the option to extend, and he only started like a month ago, and I was like, hey man, like I everything looks good, but like you only have like a month of work history, so I actually made him get a cosigner. So a guarantor, basically, like if you buy a car, you don't have the credit, so like your parents cosign for you, and they're not tenants, but they're responsible for the payment the same way that he is. And I don't think he really wanted to do that because I've never heard this before, but he actually owns a house. And so he was like, hey, what if I put up the equity in my house instead of a cosigner? And I called him. I was like, dude, don't do that. Like I'm looking out for you, honestly. One, I've never heard of that for like just a lease, but I was like, you just want to rent a place and you're going to risk the equity in your house in case you are a day late on on the rent. So I was like, I don't really want to do that. I don't think you should want to do that. So he did end up getting a cosigner, and yeah, I mean, I feel pretty good about it. I mean, again, I wasn't really getting a ton of super qualified tenants, so I'm happy
Cool.
with it.
That's good. I'm glad that you're happy with it. Hopefully, it works out well. Somebody that's going to go through extra hoops to try and leverage the equity in their property is probably a pretty stand-up person trying to like prove like, hey, no, I'm good for it. So I'm going to assume things are going to work out well. And it's always nerve-wracking when you're waiting. You only get like a couple offers or a couple people applying. Got maybe 4 or 5 over a 2 to 3 week time frame, but looks like you got something that's going to work out well. So we'll stay tuned for December 1st episode. Make sure rent comes in and kind of go from there. But I think it's going to work out.
Yeah, and I mean also like credit, never missing a payment to me is a big deal. Like it means to me that no matter what, he's gonna find a way to pay it, right? So yeah, that was the best thing that's happened. Other than that, I've had a few leaks.
You
So
landed on utilities a couple of times while rolling the dice since last week, or
yeah, so my tenant at the duplex reached out to me, and they had got a thing on their door from the city that said, "Hey, you might have a leak. We noticed your water bill. Your water usage was really high," which is scary because I don't know. I still haven't gotten the bill, and I don't know how much it's going to be. But she went outside. She was like, "There's no leaks inside. Her toilet wasn't running. Whatever." She went outside, and the hose was like, it was turned off, but water was trickling out. And I had my handyman go fix it. What he told me is that there was like a, we'll say copper hose pipe going through the foundation, and the foundation like settled into the dirt. There's no basement, so it's like the house is like 2 feet off the ground, and I guess the foundation settled a little bit, and he said it kind of crushed the pipe a little bit, or like somehow damaged the pipe that went through the wall. Because like the hose pipe is under the house, and then it comes out the side of the house and through the foundation. He basically said it crushed it a little bit and caused it to leak a little bit. So I'm the tenant pays the water bill, but like I'm covering that extra because again, that's not her fault that there was a leak underneath the house. Can't really expect them to know about that, or like obviously it's not their fault. So that's not great. And then we had a toilet running which I just had this problem at the duplex the other side like 2 months ago. I had the toilet running, and like shockingly, those can use a ton of water and cause your water bill to go up a lot. So unfortunately, I mean, they told us it's been going on for months, which like, I mean, dude, you got to tell us about that earlier. But they pay their water bill, and I was like, you guys should turn the toilet off until we get somebody to come out there, because again, that can add up really fast. So I've had, yeah, just a few things, and then
And just to
Pocono.
touch on the toilet real quick, it's kind of unfortunate. Like we have a new handyman that we thought was going to be very reliable and good, and so Ty hits him up and tells him about the toilet, and we didn't hear back for like 3 to 4 days, and then Ty goes on vacation, and then the tenants text us and like, hey, we never got somebody here for the toilet. Kind of feels like it's on us. We're like, oh, we texted the contractor, like, what's up? And he's kind of slow to get back to us, and so we ended up getting another plumber type relationship to go out there, and it took us like 2 weeks to get out there, which I don't think Ty and I love. We want to get things done quick and fix them fast, and didn't really happen in this scenario. So we got to figure out what's up with our handyman. Hopefully he's all right.
Yeah, well, the thing is, he was texting me back. Like, he texted me back right away, but he would be like, it would be like Monday, and he would be like, oh, yeah, I'll let you know when I can get out there tomorrow. And then I would text him like a few days later and be like, hey, do you know when you can get out? And he'd be like, oh, yeah, early next week. So, like, I kept thinking, like, oh, it's scheduled. He can get out early next week. Early next week would come, and then he'd be like, yeah, it's still going to be another couple days. Eventually, I was just like, hey, I need this done. If you can't do it, like, that's fine, but I need to get it done. And he actually sent us the plumber's number, which worked out.
Yeah.
He said he had truck. He was having car issues, so like, I think he's still pretty reliable. Hopefully, I mean, he got the last thing done in like under 24 hours. So
Yeah.
yeah, and then the last thing that I have is more fun stuff. I talked a lot about all the paperwork required for the Poconos property, and you have to renew your short-term rental license every year. So I got to go through that whole process again. There's like a renewal, and they ask basically all the information that you provided the first time. They need it again, which is I don't want to go off on a tangent, but it's just all this crazy paperwork that's stupid and whatever. But yeah, I need to figure that out by like a couple weeks. But other than that, that property's been going really well. I'm actually going up there again middle of November, so losing a little bit of cash flow by using it on the weekends, but it's been worth it.
Yeah, I think that's well worth it, having a property that you can go visit. It's only been like your third time, I think, up there this year. So I think it's worth it. That's one of the reasons you get that property, is to use it when you can. And even if it eats away a little bit of the cash flow, you're going to enjoy it. And that's why you buy an Airbnb in the Poconos.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we went up there a lot to get it ready. So we've been up there a lot, but not necessarily enjoyed it too much because we were working.
Yeah, I think this would be like your third time enjoying it, so it's
Yeah.
definitely worth it. Hopefully, it's not a super busy weekend, and it'll be really cool. I think I don't know if the leaves will still be there. Some of them might just be completely gone at that point, because it's a little bit colder there than in Maryland.
Yeah. Not looking forward to the cold, but hot tub will warm us up.
Yeah, for sure. The other part is don't sleep on getting that paperwork done, because you don't want to get in any issues with that township and not having your paperwork renewed on time. I could see that being an issue. Just I would try to get that done sooner than later. I know there's a lot on your plate at the moment, but I would keep that as a top priority.
Yeah, that's true. I think I'm going to work on it today. It's confusing, but the lady that works for the township, she's pretty helpful. So she called me and like let me know, like, hey, you have a couple weeks, like try and get it done as fast as possible. If you do it by this date, you'll be fine, etc. So one
Cool.
thing though is there used to be a cap on the number of short-term rental permits in that township, and so like I bought mine. There was like 30 permits left out of like 800. And then me and you were always talking about buying a place up there, and we were like, yeah, but like there's this cap. Or are we going to get a permit? They actually got rid of it, so it's good in the sense that we can look there to buy more, but it's I liked it in the sense that I already had one, and now there's like a cap on other short-term rentals. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's good and bad.
Yeah, in the sense that there's only 30 left, it's like, all right, well, at this point, maybe your property becomes worth more money because you have the license and there's less Airbnbs, and so it starts getting rented out more. This way, there's going to be a lot more competition because they got rid
Right.
of that.
Right,
So
but we can buy more and kind of be that competition as well.
yeah, and then you have more experience with the longer that you've done it. You've had yours for about a year and a half now, so we can take that
No, I
knowledge
think
and
a year. I think I closed today, 1 year ago, maybe end
wow,
of
well, happy
October.
1 year anniversary.
Thanks.
But we can take that knowledge too of like what you have and like maybe the positives about your property and like all the good reviews and double down on buying something additional. And I know that's something Anthony did, right? He had his house in the Poconos and it was doing well, but he decided I'm going to take the good out of this property, and I believe he's going to build like a really nice property up in the Poconos that meets everybody's criteria of like what a good review is. And so he's hoping that he's going to make more money based off of that. And that's something we can do too, and try to avoid like if there's any negative reviews that you guys have, like try to couple that into, all right, we want to avoid maybe those things if we buy a property up there.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a good idea to look at your options and consider trading up if you have equity in a property. So it's definitely something I'll look at in like a year or so. I'm not, as of right now, I want to keep it for a while, but yeah, I mean, you never know. I'm not emotionally attached. It's yeah, if the numbers make
Not
sense,
yet.
I'll keep it. And if the numbers make sense the other way, I'll let it go.
Yep. Sarah and I were just talking about timber the other day. She actually got a package shipped there, and there's still some emotional attachment to some houses. Like I'm sure when you guys leave Bar Harbor eventually, or if you sell it one day, you'll be like, oh, like I'd never wanted to sell that house, but eventually it just becomes a financial decision, and you're like, am I ever going to go live back at that house? Like probably not. So it's good to let somebody else own it and pay me some cash for it.
Yeah, so that's all I got. I'm sure I'll be busy for the next couple weeks, and then the year's coming to a close, and me and you, well, I'm gonna have to kind of get all of my properties documentation and numbers, and kind of look at all my Excel sheets and figure all that stuff out by the end of the year, or at the end of the year.
Yeah, so my month of pass and go almost, I've had a lot going on. Most recently, one of like the best things that happened to me is we were getting our taxes done. Like as Ty's talking about getting the end of the year stuff going, like all right, got to get ready for my taxes for 2025, and I feel like I just got my 2024 submitted. I forget the exact filing date. I think it was like October 15th. Is that the last date for taxes?
Yeah, I think if you had an extension, it extends until October 15th, I think.
So we had an extension, and not necessarily on us. We submitted our tax information early enough that it could have been done sooner, but our accountant had some issues, and so it just got delayed. And we were trying to, I'd say, beat the system by any means, but we had a certain way to not pay as much tax on timber when we sold it, just because of like the reasons that we sold it and why part of the reasons we moved to Florida. But it's kind of a line item in the tax code, and it's just trying to make sure that you explain your reasoning perfect enough to try and not pay the tax. And part of it's because Sarah and I lived in the property for just under 2 years. So you're supposed to live in it over 2 years, and we were able to talk with the accountant and come up with a plan and save roughly 20 grand in taxes. So that was like a huge plus, that we were very excited to file our taxes that way, and make sure that everything goes smooth. But we should be good to go, and it was a really like positive conversation to have. So that was
Yeah, I wish I could have gotten 20 grand back in my taxes. Instead, I had to pay it.
well, it's odd because it's like it's not like I got it back in the sense that like I'm getting a 20 grand like check back, but it's also that I didn't have to pay the 20 grand, so that I think is the biggest win. We're definitely
Oh,
not
so you,
getting.
you basically owed nothing instead of owing 20,000.
Yeah, I think we're getting $1,000 back this year, which would have been, owing 19 probably all said and done.
Yeah.
So I'm,
Well, that's awesome.
yeah, it felt like a huge win. Very happy with that. Then TDJ, we had some excitement. We got two offers on our property. We going back and forth on which one to accept. We ended up going with the first offer because it was not an FHA. The second offer was FHA. And we kind of thought that it'd be better to go with the non. Prices were both the same. They both offered 240. We had it listed for 259. 259 is probably a little bit higher than it would have worked like 5-6 months ago, but the market's dropped a little bit there. So we accepted the 240 offer. Unfortunately, during inspections, our furnace pilot light went out, and the person buying the property was there, like looking at the furnace. It is an older furnace, however, it does work. But with the pilot light being out, she kind of was worried that, hey, like this doesn't work. We were lucky to get an HVAC guy there and get the pilot lit and then get it up and running, and the heat worked. So it still passed the inspection, but it looks like end of life. It's just not a very pretty unit by any means. So that was something that kind of scared her. And just seeing this guy that's not qualified, you have an inspector, he's not qualified to like mess with this HVAC system, and he's trying to mess with it. And like, I think that sparked some fear into her. And then also there was like old reminiscences of termites. Nothing like active activity per se, but it was just like they saw the old casings. And we had termites there 4 or 5 years ago. We got it treated, and everything to our knowledge has been relatively good since. We sent a bug guy out there on like a couple days later, and he's like, "Oh, all this is old activity. I knocked it down. There's nothing new. Like, you guys are fine." But because it got flagged in the inspection, it became something that we wanted to get done anyway. So we're getting a termite guy to go out there.
So did the buyer try and like renegotiate and like ask for you to repair that stuff or like take money off the price, or did they just flat out just back out?
That was the unfortunate part, is they just flat out backed out. And it's a single buyer. I think it was a female. Maybe termites just scared too much, like the term. My realtor said in that area, for whatever reason, the inspections have been causing a lot of people to back out recently. It's more than he's ever seen it. Like, maybe it's normally 5 to 10%. It says it's almost like 30 to 40% right now. We picked this offer obviously because they weren't FHA, but my realtor also had a better relationship with the other realtor, the buyer's realtor. So we thought that that relationship would also help out the situation. And I mean, to your point, like, we probably, if she would have asked for termite treatment and a new furnace, we probably would have countered with, can we split the furnace and we'll do the termites? So she would have been getting a decent deal anyway, and she could have still held her ground, said no. She could have negotiated, and maybe she would have gotten all of it. Unfortunately, she just decided that she no longer wanted to negotiate. She just wanted to completely back out, which was relatively unfortunate for us. So,
And was your realtor able to reach out to the other offer and ask if they were still interested?
he did, and they probably would have been interested, but unfortunately they got an offer accepted on a different house. So they're under contract on a different house, and now we're looking for new buyers. We've had a couple showings this week, and we're still pending a quote from our HVAC guy. Not that we're going to go ahead and put a new furnace in, but at least to get a quote for a new furnace, because we're assuming that's going to come back on the new inspection report. Granted, as long as the furnace is working, it'll look a lot better. I think the woman got really scared when the furnace wasn't working, and she saw this inspector trying to light a pilot and saying, "This is too old. I can't light this pilot. It's too." I think that bought into like, "Oh my God, I don't want
Well,
to."
also, did she walk through the house while it was freezing in there if the heat was off?
I don't know how cold it was, to be honest with you. Like, I think it was probably midday, so it was probably okay. But that's a good call out. We got to make sure that the heat's on there so we don't have any pipe issues. Because that is the house where we did have a pipe freeze at one point.
Yeah, so back on the market, you dropped the price like
We dropped it.
5,000.
It was 259. We dropped it 5,000 to 255, and then I actually texted Noah yesterday because we were having a couple people go through, and I said, hey, we already accepted 240. Why don't we? And like, there's another house that got listed on our street that is a much better house in my opinion. That was listed for 255, and I'm like, all right, well, we shouldn't compete with that house, so we dropped it another 10,000. So we're down to 245 now that we dropped it to.
And you kind of touched on it, but are you planning on doing anything for the termites, or you're just gonna get a quote to replace the furnace? And a lot of people do that. They'll have the quote ready for the buyer, like, hey, it was $6,000, so we kind of marked it down $6,000 so that you can get it repaired yourself. But
That's probably what we're gonna say, right? Is like, hey, we did a price adjustment to two. We wanted to do a 10K price adjustment, but then like the other five we dropped from the original was to include the furnace or whatever. So that's our hope, is that maybe we get an offer for 245 now that the furnace could be in place. Worst case, we still get some type of offer and we have to eat the furnace. But hopefully it's again something you can negotiate, split it 50-50. That would be ideal for us. A lot of people have been asking for like seller assist too, which is fine. But like if you're getting seller assist, like both these offers that we got were like 250 with like 10K seller assist. So I'm like, you're already getting a significant amount back. Like I feel like some of that could go towards the furnace. So
yeah, well, and do you know the conventional offer? You accepted a conventional offer, which is not as strict as FHA. I wonder if that was a requirement to get it repaired before they moved in, or I'm assuming FHA, like they're not going to let you move into a place without heat. But I'm not sure about conventional. And same with termites. If they had a report that said they were there, I don't know if conventional requires you to get them remediated before.
I don't think it had anything to do with her loan. It was more or less just the person saw those two things and was like, oh no, and backed out. I think it was more that than anything else in between.
Do you know if did she get an appraisal yet, or did she just do the inspection and back out after that?
Just the inspection and backed out after that.
And you guys haven't gotten your own appraisal? I'm just curious what it would come in at.
No, I mean the one that we got a couple years ago was like 275, which was crazy. I think last year we got one that was closer to like 250 or 260. I don't recall off the top of my head, but it's right around what we have it listed for. So we'll see. I mean, the market's obviously softened a little bit, but I don't know how quick they adjust appraisals in that aspect. I haven't heard of people not getting houses in this market anyway because of houses not appraising. Like we've said, in some markets it seems like houses appraise for primary buyers. Usually it's the investors that want more money out of a property that struggle.
Yeah. So, well, good luck. Hopefully you get some more traction this week. Obviously, as you go into winter, unfortunately, the market softens even more. I mean, in every area in the country, prices are higher in the spring. People want to move when it's warm and kind of lock something in like March, April, May, and then maybe move in the summer. So hopefully it doesn't drag out too long.
Yeah, that's the last thing is, if it starts to drag out, do we just try to put a single family renter in there for a year so that we don't bleed as much cash flow, or do we just kind of eat the cash flow for the next year and just say, okay, we're just going to eat this as we're pending this sale for another 5-6 months or whatever it is until we get to the spring.
Unfortunately, if you get somebody in there for 12 months, you're going to be in the
similar spot.
Same spot next year. You almost need somebody for 6 months and get them out by the spring when the market kind of heats back up a little bit and the temperature.
Yeah, so we got a lot to juggle, and again, hopefully we just get a couple offers here. If we can walk out at 240, I think we'd be very happy and give us a decent amount. And then maybe even at 235, I guess we'll just have to see what happens and hopefully get some offers. It was a good house for us. It's definitely a quirky house, so I could see how it has some difficulties with somebody wanting to buy it. Just the layout. I mean, it's honestly a good house, but the layout is a little bit odd. So it's going to take somebody that, can deal with an odder layout that it'll work better for.
Yeah. Anything else? I thought of one more piece of exciting news on my end.
No, I think that's relatively it. I'm good to go.
Well, we finally got a working stove, which we haven't had in like 6 months, or sorry, 6 weeks. We got new countertops, got a downdraft instead of. I talked about it, but I just bought an electric cooktop instead of a downdraft because we don't have like a hood for ventilation. So got new countertops in the kitchen. They look really nice, and we're able to cook again. I don't know if I touched on this, but our oven stopped working, and so we already didn't have a stove, and then one day our oven just shut off. We were like preheating it. It was up to like 400, and everything just shut off. Power wouldn't come back on. And around the same time, I smelled something like kind of burning, not like a smoke or like a fire smell burning, but just like definitely. To me, it smelled like when you turn your heat on in the winter and you can kind of smell the like gas or whatever that's burning. And I was kind of being stupid at the time, and I didn't put two and two together that the oven shut off, but also there's a burning smell in the basement. So I took the oven out of the wall. It's like an in-wall unit, and I took the back out, and I'm like somewhat okay with electrical, so I was like testing different points. I have a meter, and the oven seemed fine, basically, or there was power on one line, but not the other line. So I went in the basement, and I basically found that there's like wires with the plastic caps that connect two wires together, the like twist on connectors, and it completely melted. So that's why the oven lost power. That's what the burning smell was, which was a little scary. Got an electrician out there like very, very quickly after that. And everybody that I've asked, electricians, they said that that can just happen due to a loose connection. So like inside the twist on cap, I guess if it wasn't done properly or over time, it can loosen up. The two wires can, instead of like constantly making contact, they can kind of start to like, barely touch, and then that can melt the whole thing. So for a while there, I was only cooking on the Blackstone outside. We had no oven, no stove. But now we're back. We got both, so we're
I
back.
need to see a photo of that. I saw the countertops get installed, but I didn't see the final photo with the grill actually put in place.
Yeah, well,
Or
and
the
actually
stove.
we got the backsplash yesterday, so we did like the backsplash up the back, same, that was Tuesday. So now it's like actually done. It looks really good. I just got to put the outlets back in. So yeah, things
Cool.
are coming together. Still have a lot more to do, but
Maybe Danielle will post a TikTok about that renovation here soon. That'll be fun to see. I'm excited to see what it looks like. Just
yeah,
seeing the countertop were really cool.
she really liked it. So the downdraft looks good too. It's black and sleek and 4 times as expensive as a regular electric cooktop. So, which of course I'm not able to return it. So if anybody wants a 36-inch electric cooktop, reach out because I got a second one just sitting in my room downstairs.
And put it on Facebook Marketplace and see if you
I
get.
did, yeah, but it's like very specific, and somebody, yeah, standard size I think is like 30, and this one's 36, and like somebody's gonna have to be remodeling a 36-inch electric cooktop, and yeah, I've had 0 hits in like 3 weeks, so.
Well, if anybody wants a 36-inch cooktop, hit up Ty.
Yeah, it's brand new. Just didn't fit my countertops, so then we got all new countertops. But
Yeah.
it is what
So
it is.
buy real estate. It's expensive, but it's worth it.
Yeah, we'll see what we sell this place for when we move out in a couple years. That's the plan anyway.
Yeah. Ty's, they've been living through this flip, so kind of getting a nice kitchen, I think, is one of the more homey aspects of a house, and I think that's going to make them a little bit happier about what they've been going through these last couple of weeks. I know they got some painting done the last couple of weeks as well. It feels like a constant project for the last 3 months that they've been there, but it'll hopefully start to die down. They can actually live in the house for a while.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, we'll see you next week with the new intro music.
All right, we'll see you next time.